Kevin Flynn.
Rebecca Lavoie.
I can't believe we're doing this right now. What are we doing?
Is this a readathon?
We are doing a readathon, Kevin, because while we were eating dinner, a wonderful dinner, by the way, that you made. What did you make tonight, Kevin?
It was a pork tenderloin that I made with an herbaceous rub marinade.
Yep.
Just use stuff from the garden because I'm sick of like planting stuff, like spending $50 on herbs that just grow and flower and we never use them for anything.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, artificial intelligence. I got cilantro, parsley, basil, and dill. What can I do with it? And boom.
You can put those ingredients in the New York Times cooking app too. You don't have to use artificial intelligence. But I am so impressed.
Artificial intelligence talks back to me.
I know. It's your new girlfriend. Also, by the way, you have become a spectacularly good cook. Way better than me. But that's not what we're talking about.
Okay. No, we're not. Okay.
We are talking about some news that came out literally while you were cooking dinner.
Yeah.
So, new federal charges filed by the U.S. Attorney's Office in Boston against a woman from Dracut, Massachusetts, named Jessica Leslie. And she is charged with criminal contempt for leaking information while she sat on the federal grand jury that was looking into the Karen Read case.
Oh, wow. Okay, this raises all sorts of questions.
Sure does. So, according to the charging document, on various dates between August 11th, 2022 and March 4th, 2024, the defendant disclosed sealed information to unauthorized individuals, including the names of various witnesses appearing before a federal grand jury, the substance of witness testimony, and other evidence presented to the grand jury in violation of the federal rules and court order. So, thoughts?
Okay, so when the leaking actually began,
right,
is kind of hard to pin down, even though you have this big time frame that's in the indictment, right? That's not the indictment. That's the press release.
But that's a federal press release. Yeah. So it's August of 2022.
Have you seen the actual indictment?
The actual charging document has very little detail.
Okay.
So I think the indictment might not be something. The full indictment might not be something.
Okay. Well, one thing to know is that a federal grand jury is different than like a local grand jury. Is that when you get picked for a federal grand jury, you meet once a month for 18 plus months or 2 years. It's like the first Thursday of the month or whatever it is. I know because my mom served one time. And what ends up happening, I don't know exactly. Rebecca's here on her fingers trying to figure out what that
would
is.
have been 20 months.
Okay. Yeah, that's about that. So that doesn't necessarily mean that she started leaking information April of 2022, which
August of 2022,
which would imply that the grand jury was meeting about this. These grand juries meet about everything, drug cases and wiretaps and all that stuff. And Rebecca Lavoie, if you've listened to the 13th step,
yes,
about this, the ongoing case into Eric Spofford and like what he ended up doing to intimidate journalists that you work with, like it's very possible this grand jury or the grand jury that succeeded
also heard that case. It's all sorts of stuff. And we do know that the Karen Read grand jury was pretty comprehensive. Yes.
It wasn't the prosecutor coming in, presenting a book report for 30 minutes and asking for an indictment. Because we know, if anything, we know that the FBI approached Jen McCabe when?
April of 2023.
Okay.
This would be 8 months later. So this is what's interesting to me.
Yeah.
I know they're vague and they give this whole 20-month span, right?
Yeah, you're right.
That being said, we've always been told basically by the legal team that the feds began looking into the case in early 2023. They started showing up in Canton in April. Turtle Boy published his first article about the Karen Read case in April of 2023. And he said he started looking into it. He got tips from Karen Read herself. He got tips from her legal team. I very much doubt that before then he got tips from a federal grand jury person. I have texted him to ask, but he has not responded. Can you believe it?
Yes.
Anyway, also his lawyer tweeted about this, so I very much doubt it's him, but that's just my conjecture. But we've always been told it was April of 2023. Now, one thing I've learned from these federal charging documents is that they are vague, but also weirdly specific. So there's what's called a
talking document.
I learned this, a talking indictment, which actually gives a whole narrative of a case. Like the Farwell case, the Sandra Birchmore case, the indictment against Matthew Farwell literally walks the reader through everything the investigation found and the grand jury thought, and like he did this and then he did this and then
all
he
the
did
Jack
this.
Smith indictments were the same.
Yes. So there's like a whole, and by the way, the indictments against the 13th step people were the same. It was like they did this, then they called Home Depot and bought one brick, and then they did this, and then they did that.
I know, right?
Literally, they bought one can of spray paint and one brick, and they spray painted the C word on my colleagues' houses. Anyway, so what I've learned from that process and from watching this case through other lenses and other cases is that they are very tight-lipped, but they do kind of signal. I mean, this is my opinion.
Right, but it doesn't say anywhere when she leaked it.
It says on several and many times between these two dates, yes.
Right, between those two dates.
Yes, it could be December and January.
Yeah. Again, I think it's a mistake to look at the first date as August 2022 and think that she started leaking all this information for the next 2 years.
Right.
Right? I don't think that happened because I don't think that they had any information to go to the grand jury with until they started interviewing witnesses. Right, you're implying that the grand jury started hearing this information months and months before they even questioned Jen McCabe.
Yeah.
Right, and that's not.
So can I just tell
there's
you?
the whole ham sandwich thing, but they still pulled together stuff because, like you said, in the end, was there not a 4,000-page document?
Yes.
Okay.
So let me just throw this out there.
Yeah.
The Norfolk County District Attorney's Office received a letter from the feds. In August of 2023, this is a year after August of 2022, saying, we have been looking into this case and we've come to a very different conclusion.
Right.
So I think it's safe to assume they hired ARCA before August of 2023. They interviewed witnesses before August of 2023. They did a bunch of stuff before they sent this letter to Michael Morrissey's office. I don't think that started in April of 2023. I don't think it's enough time. The feds need, and this is something we've learned from the Justice Department, their cases take forever. Like the 13th step thing happened like 4 fucking years ago, and the guy just got indicted like last month or whatever, right? So I think that there's a whole thing there. It does take a long time.
Yeah, but the important question is not when. It's to whom.
Yeah.
Whom was she leaking to?
That's the only thing we care about, to be honest. The dates are not that important.
Yeah, I mean, was it the defense? Was it the press? Was it any of the McAlberts, right? We don't know that. Now, Rebecca, you have done a modicum of investigative work in the past hour.
Yes.
What did you do?
I tried to find this woman who was charged, Jessica Leslie, on social media. Because this is what anybody in my position would do. They try to figure out if we can figure out who this person is and then look at their...
Did you look on LinkedIn?
I looked on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I looked on Facebook. I used my journalism skills, which I hate to say this, but journalists learn how to do shit that other people do not know how to do. It's true. It's just true. Like Turtle Boy finds shit out through searches that he knows how to do, but also we have tools that people don't have or whatever. So like I looked everywhere and I have a couple of suspects of who it might be. But that being said, I also learned that Jessica Leslie, she's 34 years old, very common name. And all these pictures of all these women look like they could be 34 years old. So I don't know who this person is or where, but I've been trying to find like interconnections between police people and her or between Karen Reed and her or whatever. But she's from Drake, Massachusetts. So I just got a tip.
Yeah.
From somebody, let's just say, who's closely related to the case, who says that they think that the 2022 is a mistake, that 2023 would be when the grand jury started. So
right.
You are probably right.
Again, I don't want to split hairs here, but that grand jury was originally seated not for Karen Reed.
Yes.
It was seated for all federal cases. And so they could have been sitting there for months and months before anything Karen Reed related came in, or anything Norfolk District Attorney related or Massachusetts State Police related came in. We still aren't 1,000% clear on why the FBI got involved in looking at this in the first place.
We aren't.
Because there are so many different things that they got, that they ended up looking at.
All right. So
what came first?
Let's
We'll never
just
know.
go back to the important question.
All right, what's the important question?
To whom did this woman leak shit? Was it her husband or something? I don't think so.
No, you want to get charged for that. No.
I think that you would get charged if you leaked it to a consequential person. Yes or no?
Yes.
You wouldn't get charged if you leaked it to your babysitter. And leaking generally means not just talking out of turn. Leaking means sending things. It means usually means like emailing.
Well, it's important information.
The conveyance of information.
It said there are witnesses, what witnesses said, other kinds of evidence.
Right.
And there is some reason why the Department of Justice knows this.
Yes.
Why they know this grand juror leaked.
Yeah. So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I'm curious about your thoughts about this vis-a-vis the timing of Karen Read's acquittal. So Karen Read was acquitted in June. I think that this woman was charged on July 9th. It was just a couple weeks, very shortly after the end of the trial, right? Is it common, yes or no, for someone like the feds to wait until something has been adjudicated before movement?
Well, I mean, you just said that the feds move slowly on their own schedule. So
which means this was probably planned, right?
Yeah, I mean, they decide the hour at which they present this to a different grand jury.
Yes.
So, by the way, they couldn't present this grand juror to this grand jury. So, minimum, they had to wait till a new grand jury was convened for the next 18 to 24 months, right? So that's part of it. Why did they choose now? I think it's the same reason the state police did a bunch of stuff like this and other agencies waited until the end of the case, because that decision could have arguably affected the trial, or it could have been brought up as an argument one way or the other. You're trying to influence the outcome. You're hiding something.
It sucks, but it's true.
Which is why Proctor wasn't fired until the end of the first trial. Right. It's why Buchanan and Tully was the first. It's why these people were not transferred until the end of the second trial. I think it's very much the same. I think everybody was just like, put this on hold.
Yeah.
Including the civil trial, right? Put this on hold until this is done.
Right.
Because that defendant has rights.
Yes.
And we are not going to F with that.
We're not going to F with it either positively or negatively to impact her either way. No, I agree with that.
And I don't actually think, not just guessing what we know of this, I don't think what this juror gave away would have affected the jury outcome in the Karen Read trial. But nonetheless.
Okay. Here's what's interesting.
Yeah.
There is a person or people in the world to whom this woman was sending details about who was being called, what they were saying, etc., like important details about the grand jury. Now, let's assume
either during or after the fact.
Let's assume that the grand jury actually was convened in August of 2023.
Okay.
Not August of 2022. Let's just assume that, okay?
Okay. Assume it's a typo in the press release.
That's just, or that the grand jury began in 2022, but they didn't get this case until 2023.
That's my guess.
Right.
But yeah, okay.
So let's just assume that, because somebody that I know who would know just told me that, and they may not be 100% sure, but I trust that they probably know. So let's assume that. Who would benefit the most from knowing, or who would care, like who would ask, who came in front of that grand jury and who? Now, it was just pure speculation and what they said. Who would care the most and who would benefit the most? Go.
There's a lot of people who would benefit greatly. The defense, the alternative suspects, the media, they're trying to cover. I mean, it's just. I mean, I don't think like who benefits the most indicates that's whom she.
I agree.
Leaked to.
That's not what I'm saying.
She leaked to who she was able to leak to.
Correct. I do think it was somebody involved in the case tangentially.
Yeah.
Or directly, because I don't think she'd be charged if she leaked it to her local 7-Eleven proprietor.
You mean if she was in the VFW?
Correct.
In wherever
would
that was,
that original. Would she be charged with that? No.
Probably not. Probably not.
Right.
But also look at this. What did she take a plea? What was this? What was the punishment for this?
Oh, she did.
She going to jail for 7 years?
No, she's going to jail for a day.
Okay. There you go.
But she's now been convicted of a federal charge, like a felony or whatever. So like her life is not going to be wonderful after this. That being said, Here's how I think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Can I get into speculation land for you for a
Sure,
second?
go ahead.
I think that somebody represented...
Do I have to do the music? Go to speculation land.
I think that somebody being represented by a reputable attorney, if they got this information and told their attorney, that attorney would be like, no, tell them to stop. We can't. That's the ethical legal code of conduct, right? Right.
I don't know what you mean.
So like if Alan Jackson found out that Karen Reed had gotten it, he would tell her, fucking knock it off.
Tell the grand juror, not to. Yeah,
and by the way, like we hear now, it happened several times during the grand jury meeting. Okay.
Yeah.
So I like to think it's somebody who maybe didn't tell
somebody who
their
wasn't
lawyer.
But also somebody who wasn't privy or privileged to get that information anyway.
Right.
So civilians.
The defense,
or reporters.
Right.
Yeah.
So is it reporter?
This didn't get leaked to Karen Reed. It might have been at the worst. They leaked it that there's something there.
Yeah.
But I mean, there isn't any indication of that. The way that this reads is they gave significant information to somebody.
To a party.
A party or parties.
And I think, my opinion is, the reason this person was charged was because they gave it to a party that could use it to affect the outcome of the case. I really think that.
We'll just not know that. I mean, I know you said you were in speculation land, but we just won't know that she's getting 1 day in jail, right? So she didn't turn over the secret map and give it to somebody who's split town or something like that. That's not what this is. I don't want to say it's minor, but it's something that was not in the end so consequential that it required her losing her liberty,
right,
for an extended period of time.
Or I have another speculation theory that I want to throw out there.
All right, speculate.
She reached this deal with them quickly.
Yeah.
Just could she have given them information about the person she shared the information with in order to get this very, very light deal? Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, could be. If that's the case, then there's a second step.
Yeah, isn't that typically how federal investigations work? Is that they
climb up?
Yes, and that's what happened in the Eric Spofford case with the vandalism in the 13th step. They arrested and they indicted and charged his 4 goons like 2 years before they indicted and arrested and charged him. Like they needed information that those ostensibly that those guys could provide, their communications could provide, their lawyers could provide. We don't know that. So
the 1 day tells me either that she did this, the impact was minimal, and therefore she was charged with breaking the law, which she did. Mm-hmm. But as far as the punishment, it's nothing. Or it means that she did it, and this is what she gets in return. Is that, okay, we're not going to charge you or you're going to get a super light sentence in order to flip on somebody else.
Yeah.
I think the flip is either no time
or 1 day.
Or no, now 1 day. No, 1 day. We're going to negotiate 1 day. The attorney, the defense are like, just fuck, it's 0 days, right? It's either 0. 1 day says, no, this is all on her, but it's minor. It's the equivalent of a slap on the wrist. You must do this 1 day because you did legitimately break the law. Mm-hmm. And we can't have this in the paper that just any grand juror can just spill and nothing's going to happen.
Okay. So there is a plea agreement.
Okay, that you're looking at.
Incarceration for any term of years, supervised release for 5 years.
Okay.
A fine of $200. This is actually what could happen. All right. So this is not what they got.
Right. And this is what's going to be presented to a federal judge.
Yes.
Okay.
Defendant has accepted responsibility. The parties agree. Incarceration for 1 day deemed served. She's not going to actually even spend the day.
Okay, yeah, okay.
No fine.
Maybe, I could be wrong, but in the federal system, that for 1 day deemed served might be the equivalent of 0. That just might be. They just might not say 0 days served.
Basically,
they might say this is sort of the. Yeah.
They arrested her or whatever, and then she had to spend enough hours in the whatever that they consider that served. No fine. 24 months of supervised release and a mandatory special assessment of $100, which they must pay to the clerk on the date of sentencing.
Okay, $100 fine.
So this person got off very light, but first they said what it could be which was the maximum penalties for incarceration for any term of years, supervised release for 5 years, a fine of $250,000 if incarceration is not imposed, and the special assessment of $100. So this person, this woman, is not paying $250,000, and she has not been incarcerated for any number of years. So my speculation is that maybe this person gave them information they can use somewhere else. That's my speculation.
My speculation is that they did this, they told this to somebody, maybe somebody important or not, but they found out, and in the end, it was not, the impact was so minor that she's pleading guilty, right?
Yeah.
She said she did it. She's getting $100 fine and time served for 1 day, and she's walking away from it. If she ended up giving away the keys to the kingdom to somebody who shouldn't have had it, they would have thrown the book at her.
Okay.
They're doing the exact opposite of it. I feel it's like she did something wrong. But again, the big question ends up being, to whom did she leak?
Right. So I know it wasn't Turtle Boy, and here's how I know. He just tweeted about this.
Okay.
And he's like, I don't think he'd be so open about tweeting about this if it were him. Mm-hmm. And his lawyer also tweeted about it. Mm-hmm. So if his lawyer, Mark Betterow, knew this information about him, he'd be like, shut the fuck up, right? Even though Turtle Boy's not so great at shutting the fuck up, but I don't think they would be so gleefully sharing this if they were the recipients of the information. So I'm eliminating them from the clue board.
Right.
Okay. I'm only eliminating Karen Read because I feel like Karen Read would have told somebody, like maybe, or like her lawyers would have told her no. I mean, whatever you think of her lawyers, they're very fucking good at their jobs. And they would have told her, this could get you in jail. Like, don't fucking do it. But they got
everything. They do not need to hear from a leaker.
And from what we understand and then what they have said is they found out about the investigation and they got this document dump. And this was right before the first trial, which was in early 2024. Okay? So I don't think it was them. I don't think it was Hank Brennan or the prosecution. Maybe it was, but why? You know why? Because they were informed of the investigation, right? I think worst case scenario for this woman and worst case scenario for the case, it was like a Mick Albert. Now, I'm not saying it was a Mick Albert. I'm saying I could see them penalizing her or at least bringing charges if it were somebody who could affect the case, like Higgins or Jen McCabe or whatever. I'm not saying it's more likely them than another. I'm just purely speculating here who I think it's not. And that maybe narrows it down. But again, it could just be her babysitter. I don't think so, though.
I think it was. I think by the reaction from the Department of Justice that it was not as consequential as we think it might have been. But nonetheless, they have to enforce the penalty, which is why it's sort of the bare minimum. It's the $100 fine. It's the 1 day served. So, did she leak it to Morrissey? No, she didn't do that, right? She didn't leak it. Doesn't sound like she
we
leaked
don't know
it
for sure
to
she
the
did.
targets.
Yeah.
If you leaked it to the target of the investigation, that is a whole different thing. So I would imagine in the end, if in federal court, depending on what she allocutes to, if she needs to, or what the prosecution says, if they are explicit about to whom she leaked it, that would be interesting. But I don't.
Here's what I know.
I don't think this is like the start of something like going up to bring somebody down.
No, not necessarily, but it tells me two things. One, she very likely gave them something. I think so, because
Gave who something?
Gave whoever was investigating her something in exchange for this plea. I think so. I really do.
Okay.
I really do.
Okay, that's respect. I don't.
That's just how it fucking works.
If you have something to give.
Right. If you have something to give. Maybe she didn't. Okay.
Yeah.
But more importantly, the thing that it tells me is, yes, the investigation might be over, but they have not stopped thinking about this case, and they have not stopped necessarily giving out consequences for folks' action during this case. This is a very minor charge for a very ancillary player who we've never heard of before.
Yeah.
And they made a kind of a big deal press release about it. And I wonder if that means this isn't the final word we've heard from the feds about the Karen Read case. That's all I'm saying. I'm putting up my hands in surrender, Kevin.
Who knows? Who knows?
It's not nothing.
It's not nothing. It's not nothing. But, I think the fact that the DOJ went super easy on her for doing this just says that it's super salacious and tempting, but the impact of it was not terrible.
Right.
And didn't affect anything. And they're just sending the message that if you're on a federal grand jury, you can't talk this shit.
Okay, so one other thing about this.
Sure.
You know how the feds can't talk about any ongoing investigations or investigate? They don't even talk about investigations they've closed.
They don't confirm it. They're not. Yeah.
Now they have. They have confirmed there was a federal grand jury looking into the state's handling of the Karen Read case.
Well, you can't have secret arrests in America, or can you?
All right, Kevin. I just thank you. And can we just agree on one thing?
Yeah.
Even if we disagree on our speculative stuff.
Yeah.
This is fucking fun to talk about.
Oh, yeah. It's really interesting. It is really interesting.
It took over our dinner conversation.
Yeah. It would be interesting to know to whom she leaked.
100%.
And it could have been somebody significant. But I think if it were, then the punishment would be completely different here.
Or it isn't significant because she gave them something. All right. We agree to disagree on our spec. It's all speculation.
All right.
It's just opinion and speculation. And I don't fucking know. We don't know. But anyway, Kevin, thank you for talking about this with me over dinner. And then thank you for coming down to our studio and discussing with me on the Readathon. Man, let's talk soon.
All right.
Partners in Crime Media.